All right, Rachel Savage, candidate for the Seattle City Council, position 8. Welcome to the hot seat. I'm only kidding. Thanks for coming on. I know, did you do another show yesterday? Were you on with other people?
Yeah.
You're on there?
Yeah.
All right. What was the fallout? Anybody have a problem with anything you said on the radio?
Well, I think people are happy to hear it. They're ready.
Are they?
I say the cavalry's here, and her name is Rachel Savage, and it's time to transform the city of Seattle.
I tried to look online about where are all the people that hate you. So I see something in the stranger. They're not necessarily your friend.
No, well, they're not anybody's friend. They're part of, well, at least if you're talking common sense and you want to solve the crime and disorder and mental illness and the problems in our streets.
You know, by talking about crime, mental illness, and all the rest that goes with it, this really gets a small but very vocal group of people to bring out the hatchet and look for you. Because for some reason, they don't want what you want. And what happens by you coming on the radio or doing anything public, they immediately just want to stop you. But when you ask them, which you can't because most of them seem to be faceless, small group of people that have a tremendous amount of power in the city of Seattle. Why is that?
Well, I would say those days are over because I think business owners and residents in Seattle, citizens of Seattle, they're sick of being intimidated or the attempted intimidation, which has worked for quite some time.
Yes, it has.
So I think that people are starting to get brave. We've seen that on Capitol Hill. There's been some pushback with this King County Care Center. Mm-hmm. Some businesses got together and said, "Hey, we've done it. We feel like we've done enough in this neighborhood for helping mentally ill and addicted. We have permanent supportive housing. We have housing first buildings, and we've done enough." And you know, when the Chaz happened in the neighborhood, which is blocks away from where I live and work, people that spoke out against that got a lot of heat. They got a lot of intimidation. And I think it's
Give me an example of some heat some businesses got.
Oh, I know that there was a car dealership that'd been there for years and years and years. They got their fence broken down. They got intimidated. People got rocks thrown through windows.
Right. Okay. So general disorder to show that the trolls, those that want to really control things, are not happy with the direction that some people would like to take it. So you run a business. You've had this business for how long in Cap Hill?
Since 1998.
Okay. So you are risking this to some regard, right?
Well, what's come to the city through the dismantling of our law enforcement and basically making drugs legal by not enforcing the public drug use law and the crimes associated with addiction, and basically having an open-air asylum and drug market in Capitol Hill on Broadway, those conditions have destroyed business. I mean, I have many friends that have businesses that they put their life savings, everything into that have closed because of the conditions on the street. So at this point, business in Seattle is not going to make it with the conditions that are happening, the lack of law enforcement, the fentanyl epidemic, the mental illness. So they're giving businesses like me not much to lose. And at this point, the name calling, I invited candidates back before I ran for office to come to Capitol Hill and see what was going on. And one candidate that came, and office holders, was Pete Serrano. He's running for Attorney General.
Right.
And you might have heard about this video. We went down and I got called a racist and a bigot and a pearl-clutching fearmonger because I didn't want to go down to the light rail platform. Well, that's because I live there, and I see the severe mental illness, and I see the lack of law enforcement. And look what just happened, this tragic this killing accident. See, they even get to me. Killing that was totally preventable, or our bus drivers, the murder of our bus drivers. So this is happening. It's real. And I've been sounding the alarm about this for quite some time.
You spoke at a Thursday. You were at a Seattle candidates debate, and your opponent is sitting right there beside you. and you decide, I'm going to stand up and say this.
Housing First has been a colossal failure. It's led to crime and dereliction in our neighborhoods. It's crushed businesses. These projects that have the permanent supportive housing, the drug addict apartments for drug addicts for free, destroy neighborhoods. I'm living in one of them. That's right. I'm living in one of them on Capitol Hill. They're like a dirty bomb. You put it in the neighborhood, and without proper law enforcement, every neighborhood, if you don't have one in your neighborhood, my opponent, Alexis Mercedes Frank, is going to make sure that one comes to a neighborhood near you.
Oh my God.
And if you want to see how this works out, go to the Chinatown International District and see how it's working out for them. Go to Belltown. Go to Capitol Hill. It's a nightmare, and I will not let it happen on the city council if I'm elected. Thank you.
Okay. Here's your vulnerability. You ready?
Sure.
You're a business owner. So
That's
therefore,
right.
you're an employer. So therefore, you're an oppressor. What are you doing? You just probably make millions of dollars with your business. You have a house. You have a home. You've got a business. You're part of the problem. You're part of the system. You're part of the capitalist system. That's who you are, Rachel Savage. So, you're just trying to protect what you've got and stopping other people, that need help. I mean, that's part of it, right? Because as a business owner, I mean, it's ridiculous. I know it's a completely, shallow argument that is made from sort of a Marxist position where, you're part of the problem because you've got a business, right?
Right.
It's ridiculous, but you probably have heard some people say that
Yes,
to
I
you.
have.
Right. Okay, good. So because I've heard enough of them. So, but this is a sort of a wake-up call, and you're saying this is a clarion call I'm speaking for the people, not only the businesses, but for the people in the 8th and the rest of Seattle to say enough is enough, right?
That's right. That's right. And the political intimidation is not going to work anymore in this town. This one-party rule that's happening in Seattle. I used to be a Democrat. I walked away from the Democratic Party. I joined the Republican Party, the party that gets things done. They lost me. The Democrats lost me because of the lack of law enforcement and not protecting victims, making criminals into the victims and ignoring the victims themselves. And this experiment that they've done with Housing First and harm reduction, it started with compassion. I can see that, but it's a mistake. It's a failure. And we have to admit when mistakes have been made. And at this point, if we want to have a city that's safe, welcoming, prosperous for all, if we want to have business downtown and in these neighborhoods, we must address this fentanyl epidemic and treat it in a new way, as well as the severe mental illness.
From what you speak, your stepfather died. It sent you into a bit of a spiral of depression. You then picked up alcohol and methamphetamines. Your weight dropped to about 84 pounds. At the age of 19, I think you were near death.
Yes.
So who showed you compassion? What brought you back to life to have you now, Rachel Savage, running in the 8th?
Well, I am a recovered addict. I got clean and sober when I was 20 years old. So I have 35 years of continuous abstinence. That means drug-free. And what we used to say in recovery rooms is jails, institutions, and death. So I was near death, and I also knew that the drugs I was doing were illegal and that I would end up in jail. So I think arresting people for public drug use, and I'm not talking about, drinking or something necessarily. I'm talking fentanyl, methamphetamine. These drugs do nothing but destroy people's lives and destroy society, destroy everything around them, as we can see in the cities where the drugs are really strong, or the areas of the city. So the threat of jail, and then, of course, 12-step programs that I got to go to that taught me how to not use drugs and how to become self-sufficient and live a life worth living. And that's what I want to do for the addicts in Seattle. I want to teach them, and I know how to do it, teach them how to not use drugs and build a life worth living so they can be self-sufficient. My opponent, Alexis Mercedes Frank, she wants to create dependent drug addicts that die in these Housing First buildings. This is not inspiring. This is not going to help the city.
I don't know if she wants them to die necessarily. She is part of the group that believes if you get people housing first, then that's a place to start. The problem often with Housing First in most major cities where it's been tried, it's housing first and housing last.
Yes.
The people die alone. There's higher overdose, higher death, more depression, more isolation. They've lost whatever sense of community they had. Sure, we've given them a roof, but if you go back in there, say 6 weeks later or a couple of months later, it looks like what it looked like on the street because the person doesn't have what they need in order, just even simple life skills. Speaking of trying to get help into an area, there is a proposal for a 24-hour emergency crisis center. This is in Capitol Hill. The neighbors and the businesses are saying they're crying foul. And Joe and I tried to get a number of people on that were, against it. And they're like, well, we're not going to say anything for fear of what could possibly happen to their business. Here's Chris Daniels.
The nonprofit Cancer Pathways has had to fence itself off.
That is a bullet hole.
To protect from the crime, drugs, and mental illness on Seattle's Broadway.
We had to put in our own gate last year.
And now she says King County wants to bring more of that to her front porch with a 24/7 crisis care center in the old Polyclinic building.
You're across the street, and the county hasn't come to you and said, hey, we want to put this here?
Never.
The taxpayer finance treatment facility would also be across the street from a brewery, numerous bars, a hotel, and Seattle University.
King County has a reputation for just sort of quietly having stuff show up. Has that been happening?
Well, this care center has a good intention, right? Everybody can see we need to give drug addicts, late-stage drug addicts, and severely mentally ill help. But the care center, it's not going to be enough unless we have facilities to give people long-term residential care for their mental illness and their drug addiction. Fentanyl is the strongest opiate we have ever seen. The city council and the mayor, they're in over their head. They don't know how to deal with addiction. And so we need more than the care center. And if there's not those facilities for people to go to after they hit the care center, they're just going to come right back out on the streets of Broadway. That's what the businesses and residents are worried about. The drug dealers are there, the drugs are there, and all the stores that are left there, because of course we don't have any drug stores anymore, businesses are closing left and right. They allow them to steal with impunity. Prostitution, crimes associated with addiction. There's just going to be more of that because. So is
Rachel Savage running in the 8th? Are you the law and order candidate?
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's just run through a few of these things.
Sure.
You would then have the police then arrest somebody who's publicly doing drugs.
Yes.
Okay, they would then get arrested. They would then get booked. They would then have to go before a judge. If you could have any power into that position, would you want that judge to not just simply send them to some program, but actually have that person do jail time?
I would like to have them have a choice. So I want them booked and charged. So what's happening now is diversion before they even, they don't get sentenced. So I would say sentencing first, then they either serve time in jail, which is a great place for a drug addict to be, to separate them from the drugs. And then if they want treatment, I want to provide that. I love drug addicts. I want to see them get abstinent. I want to see them get the help they need. And so they can choose either a year in jail or a year in a long-term residential treatment program.
So we would be continuing to fund or increase funding into King County, to Kent, where we have the jails that are set up. Right now, the King County one is understaffed for whatever reason. They don't have, their beds are not all taken, but they simply say, well, we don't have enough people in order to be able to add more people to behind bars. So you would add additional funding for that. You would also add, as Sarah Nelson is trying to work to try to get funding for programs to add to additional support for addicts to get them off of this sort of stuff. What would you do? Is there any particular thought that you have on stopping people that come to Seattle? I tell a really quick story of a guy who's 22 years old, had his wisdom teeth taken. I was living in Idaho, got addicted to Oxy, couldn't get Oxy, so started buying some other drug. But then he heard from a friend, hey, you should go to Seattle because it's cheaper in Seattle and nobody's going to bother you. He's 24 years old and now living on the streets here.
Right. Well, I think that, number one, the city of Seattle needs its own jail, its own long-term residential treatment program, and its own long-term residential mental health hospital. So we need to rely on our own funds, and we can use funds that we already have. The money that's going into this right now is just being wasted, given to nonprofits that, as we see, there's still so much suffering on the street. people that aren't from here, that have been here 6 months or less, we can offer them a bus ticket home.
Go back.
Yeah.
Let your county, let your city, let your state handle your problem.
Yeah. I mean, I think that the city of Seattle, we're a small town, really. We can be a world-class city, but we have to decide what we're going to do. That's my vision, is that we become a world-class city. We can solve this problem in a compassionate, humane, smart way with these long-term treatment centers and be an example to the county. And then my suggestion, especially on the city council, is to work with the county, say, every piece of the county that's having this epidemic, which all the little cities are, Bellevue, Kirkland, let's have you build your own long-term residential treatment center.
What if you see some people from Burien being shipped to Seattle?
Well, I think, as I said, I think we can be an example of what to do.
But we wouldn't take Burien's problem.
I don't think we should. I think we can be an example for Burien and then put pressure on King County to build county-wide and other cities in the South End their own facilities. And we used to have this before. So this is a return to the way that we used to treat addiction. The county had treatment centers. And then one of the houses in Capitol Hill that started my campaign, really, that I was against becoming another housing first building, used to be abstinence-based housing. So we used to have an abstinence-based model for treating addiction and transitional housing. But if people got loaded when they were in there, sorry, they get kicked out, and then usually they commit a crime, go back to jail, and go through the system again. But a lot of people got abstinent because, as I said at the forum, addicts don't get clean because they see the light. They get clean because they feel the heat, and we need to apply some more heat to late-stage addicts to help them decide. Right now, we're just ministering to them on the sidewalk, asking them, would you like to have services? Would you like to get clean? You know what most of them say? Hell no, because they want to get high. Their minds are in compulsion and obsession. And we can teach them how to get out of that.
So if you win, are you going to sell your business? You're not going to have the time to do all that.
Well, let's talk about, if the city continues the way it is, I don't want to be in retail anymore. Are you kidding me?
Well, there you go.
But
so if you don't win, you might start thinking about closing down. It's just going to be one more empty building up in Capitol Hill.
That's right.
Anyways. Okay. Well, I'll let you get back out. You kissing babies and knocking on doors?
That's right.
All
Kicking
right.
down doors.
Wow. Okay. Look out, babies. It's going to be a real smooch on the lips. All right, Rachel Savage, thank you. Running there in the 8th Seattle City Council. By the way, that has the biggest turnout. 58% showed up last time for turnout in November. They expect another big turnout again. So you've got some work ahead of you. Kicking down doors, kissing babies. Rachel Savage, thank you.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
All right. Here's Nate over there checking traffic for us. Nathan.
Yep.